Good morning, good evening, I don't know. Welcome to this week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. I literally, to film this episode, had to force myself to press pause on my music. You know what the fuck I've been listening to? Oh, am I guilty? Am I sorry? Do I miss you at the party? Oh my god, all those things. I'm all those things. How did he know? It's crazy. Role Model's new, is it an album or is it like a deluxe version? I don't know. We've been treated this week. We got Role Model's new album. We got Role Model's deluxe album. We got Sabrina Carpenter's, I forgot the words already, 15 minutes to make you finish. Da, 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 da. Incredible work. As always. You guys know how I feel about Sabrina Carpenter. I don't need to go on a tangent. I'm going to tame myself. Anyway, had to literally force myself to press pause on that song because what? It's so good. It's so fucking good. Anyways, I've had a productive morning in my life. You want to know what I did this morning? Of course you do. Everyone does. All the time. Yeah. This morning I went to the gynecologist, which I had also done in my last podcast episode. I'd also been to the fucking gynecologist. And listen, did I feel at the time of filming last week's episode that my audience needed to know? No, I didn't feel that it was necessary last week. And then upon, reviewing the podcast episode, I thought, yeah, solidly wasn't necessary. Kept it in, obviously. And then this week, do I feel that it's necessary again? Obviously not. And yet, here we are. Yep, I'm going to tell you about it. Why am I going to the gynecologist so often? What's wrong with it? You ask in unison, and I tell you, nothing, don't panic. I'm just being responsible. I have never had a proper checkup in my life. And I went to the gynecologist because I was doing my rounds because I moved countries, so I had to get all my new healthcare providers, and the ones here, they were like, you've never had a full body check. I've never had my health checked in my life. Why would I? I'm healthy. I've never had just tests run for no reason. But now that there's private healthcare, they just want to check on me and shit. So I was like, absolutely, yeah, check everything right now, check everything. I'm probably dying in 15 different ways. So that's fun. I've been going on excursions recently. She seemed to have an inclination towards the word diabetes. The house directly opposite me has been undergoing fuck knows what works, and there's nothing I can do. Sorry. And every time I try and whip out this camera and film anything, they put dagger to ground. It's perfect. I love it. Anyway, lately I've been really bumping my sad girl tunes, and I don't know why, because I'm actually really happy. It seems to be that whenever I'm finally happy in life, I just revert back, which is actually really bad. People talk about how sadness is addicting and stuff, and I kind of agree, because it's it's only fun when it's fun. I don't actually ever want to be sobbing into my pillows so hard I can't breathe again. You know what I mean? But then when I'm happy and I can indulge in the sadness in these little tiny stupid superficial ways that don't make me want to fucking kill myself, that's fun. That's when I start listening to Role Model and Lizzie McAlpine, and who else have we got on here? We got Clairo. I've been listening to Thank You by Clairo. Adrienne Lenker, Role Model, Love Spells. We've even got some of Olivia Rodrigo's Sour album going on at the moment. The Lumineers, which I'm embarrassed about. I didn't know the Lumineers were cringe. And then everyone started commenting on TikTok about how the Lumineers sound like millennial music. And I was like, fuck, they're right. I went on a tangent about that last week too, about millennial music and how embarrassing it is when you whip out something that you think is cool to your friends and then you realize upon hearing it through someone else's perspective that, oh, this shit's fucking embarrassing. The point is, I fucking love this week in music. Big news in my life is that some of my most interesting thoughts happened to me in the gynecologist office because I'm trying to think of quite literally anything else. Any other thought is welcome in my brain, which honestly made me think about the fact that I used to have way more interesting thought processes when I was at school and university and stuff because I was fucking bored all the time. And I was like, wow, kind of deep. There's so much to be said for how creative your brain can get when you're deprived of anything you actually want to do. These days I'm kind of entertained. Recently, I'm just kind of enjoying my life and stuff. It leads to less interesting thoughts from my brain because why would I have to? I was explaining to my friend the other day one of the things that I do in my spare time for fun, and it is this, okay? I mentioned to her, a classic conundrum, okay? And I feel like people play with this thought, it's not just me, of say you were the only person to ever exist and you were gonna live forever, and you were responsible for the development of the entire planet, I wouldn't have got past fire. We would never have anything. I would have invented a source of warmth on day 20 trillion. I would have been I'm fucking freezing. And I would have figured out fire at some point. But we wouldn't have got much further than that. And that's okay, that's not that interesting. One thing I always think about though, is if I was infinitely going to exist on this earth. I'm immortal. I can't leave. It's just me. The beginning of time. It's just me in the dawn of time. I always think about like what actually would happen. And I'm like me now, like I know everything I know how the earth is meant to be, but it's me in the dawn of time. And I'm like, oh fuck. And I get told my mission is to recreate the world exactly as it is today, right? And I have forever to do it, but I have to do it. And when I do, create an exact replica of the planet as it is on the fucking 18th of February 2025, then everything will resume, people will come back, and I can go about my life as normal. How long would it take me? Okay, well, I have nothing else to fucking do. I have nothing else to do. Now I can choose to ignore this mission completely and just fuck about and have fun for eternity. Can't kill myself, nothing. Or I can like get serious. If you're like, well, I could do it eventually. No, think about it, okay? You have to build personally yourself. Not only every building, every structure exactly as it is, but you have to then install and create every chip, every computer. Then you have to put them together and you have to place them in the office buildings. You have to create the waste piles. You have to like everything as it is, as it exists on this planet right now. You have to create it. And you can have blueprints. You can, it's like a puzzle. You can have pictures, but you can't have how-tos. There's no wiki how, because it's the fucking start of the earth. You can create wiki how, and you have to, but you don't have it. And how long would it take you? Well, you're here forever. Would you be able to do it? Like, it's just the biggest fucking side quest. Because, like, I could. And, like, I was thinking, like, where does the nicheties of it all end? For example, my driveway is cracked in loads of places, presumably just because it's old, and like there's probably trees which have roots, and as time went on the roots grew, moved, and lifted up parts of my pavement, and so now my driveway has all these like bumps and cracks in it, and it needs redoing. Now, in my fake world that I build by myself, well, do I have to wait for those cracks to form exactly on that driveway for the world to resume in 2025? No, that's impossible. Because, like, come on now, my timeline will be different. The trees will grow differently because I'm probably really fucking late. We're not picking back up in 2025. We're picking back up in 5537, you know? It took me a second because I'm fucking stupid. And also, I'm just one girl. You know what I mean? But I would do it city by city, town by town. And I would start small and I would build up. And I would make it, you know? Where would I make first, New York or Los Angeles? Oh, Los Angeles, for sure, because there's a beach and stuff. I reckon I could do it. It would just take me forever, but that's fine. I'm immortal. So you would also have to develop modern medicine. Oh, fuck, maybe I couldn't do it. But I'm just like, if I was here infinitely, it's like if you just give me one tool, like give me ChatGPT, I could do it quicker. You know what I mean? But I can't. I have to develop fucking coding. Oh my god, I have to like theorize gravity because I have to write the books that are in the libraries. God, it would be difficult. But I reckon if you're like, I'm here forever. You know what I mean? I'm forever. I could do it. And then when I finally get to the point that things resume, no one would even know who I am and no one would know that I did all this shit. They would just like, it's like in Spider-Man or whatever that movie was when there was like the glitch. It would be like that for me and no one would know what I did. And I'd be like, fuck all of you. Fuck all of you. So serious. You're all bitches. I did all this for you and I don't even get a fucking thank you. God, I'm getting stressed out just thinking about it. Gonna need a massage later. So anyway, that's kind of what my brain does in its free time. What about you? And also, I was thinking, so basically I've had thoughts that spiral out of control like this my whole life. And I've never tried to stop. Like, I'm trying to think of the example that I had the other day, and for the life of me, I have not been able to remember exactly what it was that I was thinking. But I was in an Uber, and I was going to a meeting, and I was driving down the street, and I saw something that just didn't make fucking sense. Like, the sidewalk, the way they had designed it, I was like, that's fucking stupid. If I was in charge of designing Los Angeles, I wouldn't make it like that. And then I started to think, well, how would I make it? And if I was to remake it today, what's all the processes I'd have to do? Things like this, right? My whole life, this is what I waste my time on. This is not a new thought to me. Never once have I thought, you should stop right now. Because why would I? This is fun as fuck. The other day, not kidding you guys, driving down, innocently having my little thoughts about, rebranding the sidewalk culture of Los Angeles, and I thought to myself, right, but that's just not going to happen, is it? And when I tell you my neck broke 360 fucking degrees because I was trying to see who the fuck said that to me, because I know it would never be me. It would never be me. So I said, who the fuck is listening to my thoughts right now and where are you? I was trying to find them. There was no one there. It was me. And I told myself, yeah, but that's not going to fucking happen, is it? Like, stop. Like, you're wasting your time kind of thing. And I was so upset. I was like, I have lived my whole life having the most ridiculous thoughts, and I have never once been like, that's just unrealistic. That's just not going to you don't need to worry about if it was you at the dawn of time with no resources and you had to rebuild the earth. You're never going to have to worry about it. It's not going to fucking happen. I've never once thought that. Until the other day, and I was like, I was so offended. I was like, oh my God, who's hijacked my brain? It's not my prefrontal cortex developing. It's not. It's not. Okay, that's never going to happen to me, first and foremost. I rebuke it. Second of all, I think my soul is dying. And so this led to me basically going on a mission, soul-searching mission. Why the fuck was I rational? Me, when I'm rational for a second, so I have to soul-search. I'm about to go on, what the fuck was that thing Quen did? She went on a darkness retreat. I'm about to have to do that. Because what the fuck? I'm genuinely going to go on a darkness retreat. Also, you know that thing they do in... If you guys have seen Fleabag, if you haven't seen Fleabag, watch Fleabag. If you listen to this podcast, there's no way you won't enjoy fucking Fleabag. Like, it's the same ilk of person, I like to believe. It's the funniest fucking show. And it's basically... It was, I think, originally a one-woman show by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. If you don't know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is, then you're fucking beyond help. But listen, it was a one-woman show, and then it got turned into a TV show about Fleabag. You never learn her name. She calls herself Fleabag. She's the main character. And it's fucking hilarious, but it's actually really sad. And I won't ruin the plot for you. It's TV for women by women. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. In every aspect, not just in her sexuality, but like in the depth of her... Oh my God, I've never seen the inner workings of a woman portrayed so well on television. And who am I to fucking judge that? Because I'm not a TV critic and I barely watch TV. Okay, I'm comparing it to The Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm like, I've never seen such incredible inner monologue of a real mature, real life woman. My comparison, Belly from The Summer I Turned Pretty. So forgive me for my uneducated comparisons, but I love it. I love the show. Fleabag, that is. And it's so good. Why am I talking about Fleabag? Oh, her and her sister, they have like a tumultuous relationship, and they decide, I think after the death of their mother, they decided that they were going to go on therapy retreat. They show up and it basically turns out to be like a scary cult, and they weren't allowed to speak. It was a silent retreat. You're not allowed to speak for like 7 days or something, and I think they have like a leader, so it's very culty, and it's like this funny joke about how I think they run away from it in the end because they're like, what the fuck is going on? That's where I'm about to go. That leads me to my next point, which I just thought up right now on the spot. In Fleabag, in that same episode where they're at the silent retreat, on the same grounds, they overhear a men's meeting. In this men's meeting, it is full of men stood around some kind of campfire that they made, talking about how much they fucking hate their bitch-ass wives, talking about how they wish they could beat them up. And it's meant to be a safe space for men to say these things with the intention of never enacting them, right? They're men who don't want to hit their wives. They know it's wrong, but they want to hit their fucking wives so bad that they have to go to a men's retreat, okay? Girls, do you know these things are real? Like, do you know that men actually go on men's retreats because they want to beat the shit out of their wives so bad? I once knew a guy. Okay, so crazy story. My friend had lodgers in her house. And so these were like unlikely folk. You know what I mean? Like, in life, other than in the workplace, I feel like I tend to interact with a similar level of person. If I interact with someone that's clearly fucking insane or just comes from such a different perspective than me in a way that's not good or helpful or just a different perspective, like you're crazy kind of thing, they don't get past the first few meetings, you know? You dispel these people from your life. When you have lodgers, they could be anyone and they're gonna live with you. You're gonna get to know them. That's why having housemates and roommates during university is so fucking good for you, because you're gonna learn really quickly about how crazy people are, and it's so good for your perspective on the world and yourself, because maybe you're crazy and maybe you needed to meet some other people that otherwise you wouldn't. And I think being shoved in to spaces with people where you can't fully escape this is sounding crazy, but I know what I mean. When you get shoved into like confined spaces with people for an extended period of time and they're not people you choose, it can do a lot of good things for your brain. Every single one of the 10 roommates that I had in my first year of university, I only speak to like 3 of them now because the rest of them were batshit, and I value those experiences so much because I learned how to be around batshit people. It's such valuable life experience. Anyway, my fucking point is, when you have lodgers in your adult life, they could be anyone. In this instance, these bitches were anyone, okay? And so there was a girl and a boy, they were dating. And we became friends with the girl quite well. I'm probably going to mistell this story so badly because it's so long ago and I don't want her to be like offended or anything. But from what I remember, her husband, or the boy that she was fucking lodging with, he went to a men's group. And I remember him telling me one time, or she told me, I can't remember. So one of them told me the men's group was quite literally like, you go and you're really honest with yourself. Like, while making a campfire and like whittling wood, they talk about how much they hate their bitch-ass girlfriends. And it's like reforming strange men. And I'm like so conflicted about this because I'm like, okay, listen, the patriarchy affects us all, okay? And I can only imagine like, it might be tricky if you are raised in a certain way and you realize in your adulthood, like, I am a man with entitlement, or like, I'm an abusive guy, like, I don't treat women right, or I have the urge to not treat women right, and it's something you would have to unlearn, and that doesn't make you evil. Like, being a certain way and realizing it and trying to change it, you know, you're defined by your choices, essentially, okay? So I was like so conflicted at the time, because I was like, okay, so like, I know that you're going to this group to try and not be evil, but something about the fact that you blatantly are right now, like, that person is, I don't know that I want to be around you. And like, I've never personally been in one of these men's groups, can only imagine the vibes. How insane is it that that exists? I'm like, I think it's a good thing that that exists. It really doesn't fucking affect me. It really doesn't. So I'm just dancing around the idea of the ill-formulated thoughts that I have on this topic. But I was like, wow. I mean, it's good that there's spaces like that, but also like, I'm terrified of all of you guys. Anyway, moving away from the patriarchy. So we went from my gynecology onto the patriarchy. We're doing well so far this week. Oh, we went from role model onto my gynecology onto the patriarchy. Good. All good things. Now, the actual substance of this week's episode listen, we're already halfway through. Like, I always get to the point halfway through and I'm like, well, what really was the point? Was it the update on my morning routine, or was it the gut-wrenching perspective on cognitive dissonance that I had? We never know. The thing I was thinking about, the gynecologist, and how I'm never really that bored anymore. I'm never really avoiding writing an essay anymore. So my thoughts don't stray as far as they used to. That was my point. And then at the gynecologist's office today, my thoughts were straying. And I was like, oh my God, I just haven't been this person for a second of like racking the libraries of my brain for anything I could possibly think about. So imagine this. I'm sat at the gynecologist's office and I'm thinking to myself, I think my brain might have rewired itself when I got a dog, because I saw something online and it was basically talking about how a woman's brain chemistry and her nervous system actually physically changes when she has a kid to gear her more towards maternity and away from other things like work and her social life. Obviously that's evolutionary and it serves a purpose, okay? But it upset me to hear that, because I was like, there are so many young talented people that I see and they reach like what could be just like a rise to the peak of their career. They're in their mid-20s, early 30s, whether it's like acting industry or the music industry or podcasting, whatever the fuck they do. And then they get fucking pregnant. And I'm like, okay, I know it's like a fine time of life to get pregnant, I know, but then sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, maybe this is like offensive, because I'm like, it's everyone's choice when they want to have a baby, and like, who the fuck am I to comment on it? But it's like, I see it sometimes, and it makes me sad sometimes, especially since in the few examples that I'm thinking of that I'm not gonna name or specify towards, that they end up being single mothers within a year, and it breaks my heart. Anyways, on this same thought process, okay, about how women's brains rewire themselves after they have a baby, I thought back to the time in my life where I just got a puppy. And I remembered distinctly during this time, I was in therapy at this time, and I remember saying to my therapist, I cannot fucking think of anything creative. When I got my dog, I went into this, they call it the puppy blues on TikTok, okay? That's what the kids are calling it, the puppy blues. Like baby blues, but you get it. Anyway, basically, after I got my dog, I thought I'd ruined my life. Like, I was so unhappy. I knew before it was going to be a lot of responsibility, but I really couldn't conceptualize in my tiny baby brain how much of a responsibility it was going to be. No matter how much people warned me, I was like, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. The second I got the dog, I was like, oh my fucking God. It's like when you have a puppy, you may as well have a fucking kid for like a month or two, because it needs constant attention. And I was so stressed out at this point in my life where I just basically started doing TikTok and stuff, and I was like, I don't know if this is like something I even want to do, if it's a job, like I don't understand, it's kind of intimidating and it's fun, but I don't know what the fuck is going on, and like I think it needs actual work and like care and time, and you know, maybe this is how I'm going to support myself one day. And now I have a fucking dog, and I was in therapy and I went to my therapist and I was like, ever since I got this dog, I literally just can't think of anything to say. Like before I got that dog, even if I scroll down on my own platform, I see like so many videos that I was posting of just like random shit that I was doing, random thoughts I was having. And then right around the time I got the dog, I kind of stopped and I went really quiet for a while online and just like couldn't post anything. I like didn't have anything to say, and I wasn't ever in the mood to post, and like I wasn't happy. And so when I'm not happy, thoughts don't come out of my mouth, you know, like I'm quiet. I'm taking a vow of silence for 20 minutes. At the time, I played with this idea of like, did something happen in my body that like rewired me towards this tiny little vulnerable animal's best interest? Because I've always said this, the reason I cannot have kids until I'm like fully ready to take a back seat in everything else in my life until I'm like good, set, and ready to fucking retire pretty much. I don't want to have kids until then because I know that I will not have a choice in how much I give to that baby. I will not be able to leave it side. I will not be able to have someone else watch it. I will not be able to compromise at all. And I know this about myself. I'm so maternal, and it's crazy because I don't want kids. Like, I don't have a desire for motherhood, but I am so fucking maternal. It is insane. Like, I will literally drop everything to care for something. And so that's why I don't have a baby, because I would not be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be doing fucking anything except caring for my baby. And so I want to be in a place in my life where I don't have to. Like, when I have a kid, I want to have spent the next 10 years running up to that moment making it so I may not have to work for the first 5 years of its life, or whatever it might be, or work in a way that doesn't I don't fucking know. I'm not a mother. I'm not thinking about being a mother, so I don't know how this shit works, but you know what I mean. When I got this dog, I didn't expect to feel a physical shift in my body that geared me only towards the dog, because I was like, it's a dog, why would that happen? And then I got the fucking thing, my baby, my bug, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm like, I've ruined my life because I can't seem to think about anything anymore. I can't seem to think about, like, myself. Like, I'm not even thinking about the dog. It's just, like, my brain just isn't where it was last week. And, like, crazy stuff. I'm a young mum. And I was also freaking out because I was like, I can't take care of this. Like, seeing how many walks she needed. And, like, okay, I knew a dog would need walks. But then for some reason, when I'm on the walks, I'm freaking out because I'm like, I have things I know I need to be doing. People are waiting on me and I can't do any of it because I have to walk the dog and then I have to fucking potty train. I was just so stressed, and I was a baby, so I didn't know how to juggle anything. I'm calling myself a baby like this wasn't 2 years ago. But anyways, I just really freaked out, and I actually went through a phase of genuinely, I was freaking out. Like, I was like, I have ruined my life. I can't bear the thought of giving this dog to anyone. Like, I would never have put her in a shelter, but I was like, I don't want to find her a new family. I'm so attached to her. She's so cute. I love her. Like, I feel completely responsible for this life, and yet I can't do anything else, and I'm depressed about it. Like, I don't want to be in this state, but I can't get rid of her. She's my problem now. And that's fine, and I don't know what to do about it. So at the gynecologist office, I was doing some research, trying to take my mind off what was about to happen to me, and I found out the following. When I looked up, like, cognitive effects of having a pet, on women specifically, right? It was all good things. It was like mental health and social interaction and like cognitive health improves. And I was like, okay, that all makes sense. So then I went and I looked into brain changes in women after childbirth. Like, get straight to the fucking point. How crazy is this? It says that you have a gray matter reduction that occurs in women's brains after pregnancy. And it happens particularly in regions involved in social cognition and theory of mind. These changes are believed to enhance a mother's ability to attune to her infant's needs. What? That is so sick. And then there's all the things of like hormonal influences and blah, blah, blah. And then long-term effects. It said, research suggests that some brain changes persist for at least 2 years postpartum. So it's not permanent. You don't permanently reduce the grey matter just in the most vulnerable years of your baby's life until it starts like making words and walking-ish. Interesting, right? So then it said that while both pet ownership and motherhood involve caregiving, it can lead to shifts in daily routines and priorities, the underlying neurological changes differ. Motherhood induces specific structural changes in the brain, particularly in grey matter volume, driven by hormonal fluctuations during and after pregnancy. Such pronounced structural changes have not been documented in pet owners, fucking obviously, because you don't have the hormones that just made you give birth. Like, that's obvious. However, that wasn't good enough for me. I was like, but hold on. One thing I do know always is that anytime I read scientific studies perceived on women's hormones, I immediately go, because I know that they're full of shit. They're not full of shit. They're very real. But I'm like, okay, but like, I don't trust you because I don't feel like you did enough research. Anytime it's anything about women's health, I'm just like, okay, I'm taking that with a pinch of salt, love. Big fat fucking cauldron of salt, darling. So I did some more thinking on my own accord as the scientist that I am. And I was like, okay, but what about the women who produce breast milk because they are around babies? What about women who have not been pregnant but produce breast milk? We all know that you don't have to physically give birth to a baby for your body to become attuned to the baby, to caring for the baby, to producing what the baby is going to need. And I was just like, okay, what if on like the microest, miniaturest, teeniest, tiniest scale, when I adopted this fucking puppy, what if my brain like was like, what? Did you give birth, bitch? And like got smaller for a second, or like reduced the gray matter for a second. I think it's all back now. But I just think back to that period of time after I first got that dog, and I think of who I was as a person, and she was a scary person. I didn't like her very much. I was not happy. I was so depressed, and most of the depression was probably just like I felt like I'd ruined my life. And it's actually common because I did research on it at the time, and like there's like support groups for this shit. I was like on TikTok, like I got into dog TikTok, and it was just all these people being like, I feel like I fucking ruined my life and I just got this dog. And it's like other pet owners being like, ride it out, you'll be okay, the dog's gonna be less annoying in like 4 months and you'll be fine. And that's how I felt like after the first like 5 months of having the dog, once she knew to shit outside and like could like go off the lead on her walks, I kind of resumed my life as normal and stopped being so overwhelmed by the responsibility of her. And like I figured out like, okay, she's not that time consuming. Now that she's not shitting her bed every night and crying 5 times a night, she's not that time consuming. And now she's my sweet little baby. Well, my mother's sweet little baby, because I did the classic, I promise I'm going to take care of the dog. And then I bought the dog, and then my mom was like, don't make this my problem. And I was like, I won't. And then I made it her problem. Classic. So anyways, I don't think that having a pet reduces the grey matter in your brain, because I do think you probably need way more hormones for that. And I don't think that having just like a dependent, small, cute animal probably evokes enough of those hormones. But I'm like, why has no one done research on this? Like, as a young girl, dare I say, within her years of fertility. That sounds disgusting. I was going to say a fertile girl. That sounds so fucking gross. But you know what I mean? When you are given something teeny tiny that is cute by evolutionary intention because it wants you to care for it. Like, there's a reason baby animals across the board are fucking adorable, because they can't help themselves. They need you to take pity on them and feel maternal towards them so that you will help them. And it's like an evolutionary tactic. That's why they're so fucking cute. You hand a young girl a really cute puppy and you're like, this is your sole responsibility. Care for it, raise it. Well, someone should like do blood tests during that period to see what happens, because I would genuinely just be interested to know. And I can't find any research for it on the internet, but like they need to invent some kind of way to track your hormones without getting blood drawn every time, because I only have so much, you can't take all of it. But like I would love if they did a study on this, like surround a bunch of young women with really cute baby animals all the time, like give them all puppies and then make them like raise them, like maybe like guard dogs so it's productive or something. Yeah, I'm trying to be helpful here. Take brain scans and test if they're, I don't know anything about hormones, but like see if their fucking estrogen goes up. Is that, I don't know. It would be interesting, no? Because the way I felt after I got that dog, like I said, I've never felt that way in my life. And I've had periods before I've been like hopeless and depressed and like I've ruined my life, you know, before. I've never felt that way. That one was crazy. I think because I also felt guilty, because I was like, oh, I've made myself her problem. Oh, that was another thing in my gynecologist appointment. You guys want to hear more about it? Of course you do. That was another thing at my gynecologist appointment. She was like, what's your diet like? She's like, do you eat a lot of carbs? I was like, excuse you, first and foremost. Second, yes, I do. Almost exclusively my diet is carbs. She was like, what do you have for breakfast? I was like, a bagel and egg, sometimes granola and yogurt. And she was like, okay, and lunch? I was like, lunch? Don't ask me about lunch. What about dinner? Okay, I was like, I have pasta. Most nights pasta. Sometimes like I make greens with the pasta. Most nights I eat pasta for dinner. Sometimes if I'm like feeling very fancy, maybe fish, but like it's mostly just pasta. And then when I said that out loud, I was like, oh, that is just carbs, like day and night, which I didn't know was bad in any other way than like you might gain weight. She was like, yes, for your blood sugar? That's horrible. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I don't know anything about my body. I was talking about this last week too, where I was like, fuck, I really don't even know what to look out for. Like, I'm so out of touch with it. I've just taken my health for granted for so many years because nothing major has ever happened to me that I'm just like, I don't know what a carb is. Like, I know what it is. Like, I know where to find them, but I don't know, like, other than the rhetoric that circles the internet around, like, they'll make you fat. First and foremost, fuck off. Second of all, that is not the most important piece of information to know about carbs. Comes to fucking find out, they regulate so many important things in your body. And they're in electrolytes. Don't know what an electrolyte is. I'm finding out, though. That's great. Also, bone to pick, right? A while ago, I went to the dermatologist and they put me on the medication to reduce my PCOS symptoms and also reduce my acne. And they gave me a dose of it. Been on that dose for ages. Went to the gynecologist, told her about this medication, told her about my dose. She was like, who put you on that? And I was like, oh no, what? you're going to tell me this one's going to kill me. What? And she was like, well, that dose isn't effective. The working dose of that medication is 200 milligrams. You're on 50. She was like, they were just testing if you were like not allergic to it with 50. What? Bro. What? I've been waiting for my acne to clear up, and it has cleared up a lot. I've also been taking better care of my skin. Like, I've been figuring out a skincare routine that works more for me. But what the fuck? I've wasted 3 months on a completely benign dose of my acne medication. That's great. No, it's great. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much. That one was so helpful. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, why is it so hard to find a fucking good healthcare provider? Like, I go to all these different healthcare providers. It's like they all hate each other. Like, I'm like, oh yes, this person told me this. And then this person who has the same job at a different office is like, that's fucking terrible advice. That's going to kill you. You should do this. And then I'm like, okay, I'll do this. And then I go to this person over here, third opinion. And they're like, they told you what? No, some people think that, but you actually should do this. And then I come over here and I'm like, okay, well, fourth opinion time, right? It's been 6 years now, nothing's changed. I have the same fucking symptoms, fourth opinion time. And I'm like, okay, these are the fragmented pieces of advice that I don't understand, and I just follow blindly from 3 other healthcare providers in the same field as you. And then they look at me like I've got fucking 7 heads, and they're like, who told you that? That's crazy. I would never say that. That's archaic. They haven't even prescribed this medication since the fucking dark ages. I don't know who told you that. They don't even make this anymore. I don't even know where you got it from. And then I walk out crying. 'Cause what? Like, that's not even an exaggeration. Like, I genuinely feel hopeless. Like, I'm like, how many people do I need to fucking ask the same question to till I get the same answer more than once? Until someone doesn't hate the person who told me the thing before me, because everyone's fucking stupid, apparently. Myself included. Of course I'm stupid. I'm not a healthcare provider. I don't know anything. I have the right to be stupid. You don't. But all of you are. Why? I'm asking you like you're the healthcare provider. Why? Sorry. Misdirected anger. I'm quite surprised at how many words I've spoken on this podcast so far because I didn't plan any of them. So back onto the grey matter thing, because I actually didn't finish my point. Reduction in grey matter volume. Studies using MRI scans shows that grey matter volume decreases in certain areas of the brain after pregnancy, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making and social cognition, the medial frontal cortex, involved in understanding others' emotions. You want to know what? I have a bone to pick already. Buzzwords on TikTok piss me the fuck off because one person brings the word to the platform and then everyone starts acting like they've used this word for the last 50 fucking years, like they know what it is. And they're like, I always run when someone tells me that they've got beepity boopity. And it's like, bitch, that buzzword reached the internet 30 seconds ago. What do you mean you always run when somebody tells you beepity boopity? And they always look at you with that condescending fucking look like, I knew about this before you guys. No, you fucking didn't. No, you fucking didn't. That word is trending on Twitter right now, okay? No, you didn't. You didn't know anything before me. I know everything before everyone else. And yes, okay, when I know a word before someone else, I look at them like... You fucking big idiot. You didn't know what that meant? I learned the word 30 seconds ago. Full transparency. But when other people do it, it's out of fucking line. The most recent one I actually screenshot because it pissed me off. I'm like kind of in a bit of a hater era right now. Pardon me. Oh, the word was developmentally arrested. And then someone, everyone loves that word this week. Developmentally arrested adults. Shut the fuck up. Oh, shut the fuck up. I always know when an adult is developmentally arrested. Because one person made a video about how people will get developmentally arrested when their worst trauma happened to them. And then suddenly everyone's talking about this person's developmentally arrested. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Are you a fucking psychologist, babe? Do you have a fucking PhD telling me this person's fucking developmentally arrested? You're developmentally arrested. Sometimes I feel like the HRH collection and sometimes she has points. Most of the time, no points. Sometimes. Back to why I went off on that one was the whole prefrontal cortex thing. Like, that's a buzzword. Like, people use prefrontal cortex in every fucking sentence on TikTok and shit, right? And now I'm reading about this and they're telling me about the medial frontal cortex. Well, that sounds almost just as important as the fucking prefrontal cortex, okay? And it's linked to memory and focus. People get so focused on a word online and then everything gets attributed to that word. Like, everything is the prefrontal cortex or ADHD, and it's like, bitch, you know we have like so many body parts. There's like so many more options for things that could be wrong with you, and that should terrify you, okay? Stop feeling safe in the knowledge that you know what's going on in your body. Feel uncomfortable at all times. You think, oh, I'm making good decisions recently, my prefrontal cortex is developing. Okay, anyways, why does it happen is my next part. Researchers believe that the pruning of grey matter makes the brain more effective at maternal behaviors. These changes help mothers bond with their babies, improve emotional regulation, enhance their ability to recognize and respond to an infant's needs. The grey matter reductions seen in new mothers are similar to the synaptic pruning that occurs during adolescence, another major period of brain reorganization. That's kind of cool. These changes persist for 2 years, at least. Some studies suggest that these changes correlate with a mother's feelings of attachment and emotional responsiveness to her baby. Could pet ownership affect grey matter? While there's no strong evidence that pet ownership leads to the same structural brain changes in motherhood, there are some similarities. We get increased oxytocin. It can strengthen the brain's emotional regulation pathways. And studies show that pet owners may experience changes in brain activity related to stress and social bonding. Functions of grey matter in different brain regions: the cerebral cortex, responsible for higher thinking and perception; the basal ganglia, movement and coordination; the hippocampus, memory and learning; amygdala, emotion and fear response; thalamus, sensory processing; and the cerebellum, which is responsible for balance and motor control. So it affects all those things. That's so interesting. Decreases in grey matter are also associated with aging, neurodegenerative diseases, that's like Alzheimer's, mental health conditions, and chronic stress. I wonder if I have any grey matter. Do you think men's bodies, I can't be bothered to Google it, but do you think men's brain, I'm gonna Google it. Fatherhood also induces changes in brain structure, though less pronounced, of course. Oh, no way, they get more grey matter. Wow. They get more. I feel like I shouldn't hand you girls this information because maybe some of you are irresponsible, but it says that if you get pregnant, your man will actually gain emotional processing skills, social cognition skills, and gain motivation. Some studies have observed grey matter reductions in the medial prefrontal cortex, which is involved in self-focused thinking. Oh my god, so he'll become less self-obsessed and more emotionally intelligent? This might reflect a shift towards more outward-focused caregiving behaviors. Yeah, but like realistically, has this ever been perceived in real life? Like, was this done in a lab with a good man? This doesn't check out. Researchers using fMRI scans suggest that new fathers experience stronger connections between the amygdala, hypothalamus, and prefrontal cortex. These connections help regulate emotions, stress responses, and caregiving instincts. They also get a decrease in testosterone, their oxytocin and dopamine increases, and they regulate their cortisol. So basically, having babies is great for men and fucking terrible for women. Perfect. Another fucking thing that they get. And did we not start off this episode by talking about how the patriarchy did something again? Anyways, that is it from me this week on Pretty Lonesome. I feel like I've been speaking for 5 seconds, and it's been apparently almost an hour, so that's weird. I love you guys. I hope that you have a good week. I'm going to wrap this episode up because I never had anything useful to say when I sat down an hour ago, and I definitely don't now. So I love you. I hope that you have a good week, good day, good night, wherever you are. Love you. Okay. Goodbye.